Can you hear me?
Yes.
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्वी नावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा कार्पण्यदोषो रहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविरावीर्म एधि वेदस्य म अनिस्तः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासिः अनेन अधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Sorry. ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवाङ्गं सस्तनुभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव कीर्तिः पृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजनीव स्वमृतमस्मि द्रविणं सवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कोरवादु इति त्रिशङ्कोरवादो Vedanuvacanam. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thanks, Rupaj. Very, very nicely done. A couple of things. The first shloka that we do, the word is to be not to be broken. It's a क्या था वो असतो मा no सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहे तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु. Don't break that word down. Yeah, that's one. Then Gurave Namaha, not Guruve Namaha. Okay, Gurave Namaha. Rame, there is no uki matra. Yeah. Then the last two shlokas, little bit that you need to improve upon, but largely I would say 99% it's perfect. In the last one, Dravana Gwam.
Yeah, I messed that up last time also. Dravana Gwam.
Dravana Gwam. So there is no Dravanam. You say Dravanam, right?
Dravana Gwam.
Yeah. So that ang ki matra is to be spoken with that ang wala flavor to it, right? Dravana Gwam. That's probably about it. And there was one more small mistake in the previous one, the last shloka, but I don't remember the exact one. Just go through that. But other than that, all the others were just perfect.
Massive improvement.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
clearly a lot of effort been put in.
So I'm not sure how many of you read the WhatsApp messages, but Hamare Pujya Swami Shri Ram Sharma ji, he passed away yesterday afternoon. So today, 9 to 10 a.m. India time, which is our 11:30 a.m. Singapore time, unka, like, the Antim Yatra is starting. There's no Zoom or anything, but for everyone, it is recommended that we spend that time remembering him, thanking the Lord, and for his presence amongst us. He was the one who used to lead Ras Leela, and he has come to Singapore and graced us twice before. So in last Ras Leela that happened in 2019, he was there, and he's obviously like super old and all, but his voice was so strong. He led the entire Ras Leela, and very, very beautiful renditions. His voice was absolutely fabulous. I will try and share at least one of the bhajans that he had sung during that time, so you can, soak in the divinity that came from him.
So he leads this whole troop, right? The last leader troop, and he's a grahast. So he has family, he has a son, etc. But he always said, "Main mera kaam nahi kar raha, main Bhagwan ka kaam kar raha hu. And my job is to spread divinity." And to do that, he and his entire family and his entire life was dedicated towards an offering to Bhagwan Ji. So even though he was a frail man, 78 or 80, or maybe even more, when he came to Singapore, he hardly spoke. Like every morning, his ritual was this. He used to stay at Aparna Didi's house. His ritual was wake up at 4 o'clock, get ready, do swadhyay. He would read 2 or 3 shlokas. He would read it with whoever was awake in the house, and he would share his reflections on those 2 shlokas. And then he would do a havan to offer. And he said, I start, havan isliye start karte hain because shuru subah aapki ichha ho jati hai, ye karna hai, wo karna hai, ye karna hai, like all the Rajuguni bhav starts coming in. He says, havan is just a reminder that I'm doing everything for you. So every morning he woke up and he would start the havan. So some of us got blessed with the opportunity to go attend this havan at 5 o'clock in the morning, after which he'd have breakfast and stuff. And throughout, like all the interaction, he would hardly speak. And we used to always wonder, like, when he comes on stage, will he be able to sing? Will he be able to lead the troupe? And you could just see his transformation on stage. Like the moment he opened his voice, it would, you could see that his energy comes from a different space, and it with that all of us transcend to it as well. Then, which is what Tuina was mentioning a couple of weeks ago, that Ras Leela, for you to attend it is an opportunity for you to actually do your antakaran ki shuddhi. The cleaner you are when you attend it, the juicier it will feel to you, right? So he's now passed on to the divine lap, and today is the last. Unke rituals are last rites at 9 o'clock. So it coincides perfectly with our class. So we thought we are anyways being requesting that when the last rites happen, this soul apparently, powerful souls have a way of touching all of us. And us being able to offer something to that soul is us just being connected with divinity for a few moments while they're around. So we will end the class at 11:30 and then do some chanting and Hanuman Chalisa as per prescription. Yeah, Rituj, you have a question.
Yeah, not a question, just I think on 9th of November there was a session with his son where I don't know if, and it was nice because I got to see him as well for a few seconds, and I've shared a picture that they had on the group as well. So it was a very like it was a nice experience because there was one thing that his son I think shared, and and he showed him for like maybe 2 or 3 minutes as well, and I think Mayaji's husband was also there, and they were having this interaction. But one thing about teaching the Gita, and his son said that it's like a rabid dog. You know, the way once a dog is suffering with rabies, he wants to go and bite someone. That same drive should be there to share Gita learnings as well, and to share, because for me as well, I think I just in our other class, it was recommended that we should share whatever we learn. And for me also personally, when I used to study as well, I used to always, the best way I could imbibe anything was I would pretend I'm in a classroom and I'm the teacher, and I would impart whatever knowledge. So I think that was very nice that he mentioned it, and it was nice to see him as well. So may his soul rest in peace.
Absolutely. So his son's name is Kunj Bihari Bhaiya, and he will be leading the troop this time for the Ras Leela, and he'll be here in January. So one thing though, I would like to remind all of us about sharing the gyan with others, that we can't, that sentence must always be contextualized. Otherwise, it can be taken out of context, right? Contextualized in the sense that you should not talk about it to everybody. You should be very careful about who you share it with. People have to be ready to receive it. And Bhagwanji also did not open his mouth until 2.07 when Arjun asked for it. That is extremely important. Otherwise, it's like, giving gyan to somebody and you're going to turn people away from Gita rather than towards them. So be careful about, okay, I have talked about it once, I've let people know something's going on here. If there is a natural curiosity, they will come back and ask you. And then you can talk more about it. But be very aware of you doing a monologue, which is being received on deaf ears, or worse, is turning people off from the path. In that case, instead of doing something positive, you've actually done something negative. Somebody who was neutral has now become negative, right? So be very aware of that, right? Another important thing to remember is that Gita is not to be spoken. It is to be experienced. It is to be lived. So the best way that you can actually speak Gita to others is by imbibing the principles in your life. That speaks way more than anything else, right? When your behavior will change, when your ability to handle situations will change, people around you will notice and they will come and ask you about it. And that is an opportune moment, 2.07 moment, when you can talk about it. Okay. So there is no better way to spread Gita in the world than through our own actions. Yeah, so that is very, very key for ourselves.
Yeah. And I think the third thing here is very subtly, spiritual ego might kick in.
Yeah.
I know better than the other person.
और ये सबके साथ होता है, हाँ? When we start reading Gita, the first thought is after a point when we start doing good stuff, right? We start being good. There is a ego that will rise with it. For all of us, whether we recognize it or not. At some point of time, we will recognize it when we are subtle enough to say, oh my God, there is ego here too. तो जब हम लोगों को बोलते हैं ना, तो immediately एक तो judgment आता है. हम तो गीता पढ़ने वाले हैं, हम बहुत अच्छे लोग हैं, है ना? हम सारे rituals करते हैं, we are very very nice people. उन लोगों को देखो, वो लोग ये भी नहीं करते, वो लोग ये भी नहीं करते. Judgment. Immediately आपका सारा गीता wash out of the door. That spiritual ego will arise at every step, and you have to recognize it and get it out immediately.
Yeah, I'd like to just share on that only. Like, I've recently from a sabbatical just joined back work. So, my thing is the person I work with wants me to work every day. So I've told him on Sundays at least, from 8 to 11:30, because I've got 2 classes back to back, I'll need to attend the Gita class. I have to tell him about that. So then people in the office have now gotten to know. So every time when I'm a bit angry or I'm getting irritated, people keep reminding me, but aren't you doing Gita? Aren't you doing Gita? So I'm always grounded in that regard, that even if I have that covered of being spiritually enlightened, everyone around me is just bringing me down to the thing that, aren't you doing Gita? Sir? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing Gita. I have to be mindful. So
Is in a way, it's a blessing that they're reminding you about your own principles, because you get so caught up in the moment. Same thing with me. If I say back answer my mother, she's like, "तुम तो गीता पढ़ते हो, ऐसे कैसे बात कर सकते हो?" I was like, "Yes, thank you."
Yeah. Chalo, Antakaran cleansing machine. Okay. So we'll start with Shlok 25 today. In the last class, we had done 22, 23, 24. Shlok 22, as we realized, was very key assurance that is given by the Lord, right? He says that he does yoga kshemam vahamyaham. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. मैं खुद चल के लेकर आता हूँ. I personally walk to you and I give you your yog and your kshem. I will give you what you need and preserve what you need. The important thing to remember is what we need and not what we desire. Also, what we need for our best interest, what is in our ultimate welfare. Sometimes a little bit of pain is exactly what we need. Like, for example, you may realize that sometimes you have to, when a child is being really, really errant, at that time, you have to sometimes scold them if you really, really love them. Real love is when you know that it is in their hit, it is in their best interest for you to restrain them or scold them or not give them what they want, right? Sometimes all kids want is, I want candy, 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 candy. I want ice cream, I want chocolate, I want chips. Yeah, I mean, you want that. Of course you want that. But is that really healthy for you? I'll give it to you in small portions that will bring joy to your life, but in a way that it will not spoil your teeth or spoil your health, only in those doses, right? So Bhagwanji is that parent to us. He will give us exactly what we need at the time we need it. And having that trust is extremely important. Bharosa karo. ना वो बहुत जरूरी है. मैया जी also used to say that, and Pujya Shri Ram ji, Ram Sharma ji also used to say that कि विश्वास रखो, भरोसा रखो ईश्वर पे. That is the crux. Very, very important. Faith, very important. If we don't have faith, तो आप ज्यादा देर चल नहीं पाएंगे इस रास्ते पे. Right? At one point of time, we had asked, right? There was actually a shlok in this shata where we were talking about the Guhya Gyan, and the question was, if this is so powerful, why do we not have more people walking this path? We don't have more people walking this path because they don't have that bharosa, they don't have that vishwas, they don't have the faith. And that's the key, that's the most important thing, and that's the only thing that you actually need. Everything else Bhagwanji will give. If you have that bharosa, if you have that faith, you ask him for whatever is lacking. You don't, if you don't even have faith, ask him for that also. Okay. So that is super important, and that is the crux of our journey through the bhakti yoga. Okay, so we'll start with shlok 25. So after this, Bhagwanji had told us, and in shlok 25, he's going to give us the generalized principle about what he's been speaking, that you will get what you ask for. So be very careful. We are made in his image. So we will get what we ask for. The problem is, most of the time, we don't know what is in our hit. So we end up asking things that we think will bring us happiness, but are actually extremely bad for us. Just like a child thinks that it's extremely nice for him to have candy, but it is, in end of the day, it has consequences that the child does not understand. Okay. So be very careful of what you ask for. You will tend to manifest in your life what you ask for, what you work for, what you habitually develop. And this has to be something that we have to be careful about. Now, when we say what we ask for, what do you mean by what we ask for? We don't necessarily go and ask for things by speaking about it. Asking for something is reflected in what we think. There are all kinds of thoughts, right? Sfurna hai hamare dimag mein, right? Sfurna of thoughts follow through. Continuous flow of thoughts. An average human being thinks 60,000 thoughts in a single day. What thoughts we hold on to and what thoughts we let go, that is the power of Saraswati. Okay. What thoughts we hold on to and what thoughts we let go is the power of Saraswati. And when we pray to Saraswati, that is what we need to ask for. Okay. That I understand when I'm eating cherry, I should know that I have to eat the flesh and let the seed go. So what you ask for is reflected in the thoughts we choose to dwell on. The thoughts we hold on to, we dwell on, then they become desires, then we act on them. And through continuous action, they become our habits. And our habits develop our sanskars. And through those habits and sanskars, we develop the conscious real world around us, because we are constantly acting on it. We are thinking about it. We are talking about it. That is called asking for something. Asking for something doesn't mean just sitting somewhere and talking, like asking for it. So you may be saying, I've never asked for anything like this, but you've asked for it through your actions, through your behaviors, through the thoughts you have been thinking about. Okay. So now Bhagwanji will tell us exactly this, that you will get what you ask for, what you worship, right? So you can pray to gods, you can pray to the Lord, or you can pray to the gods, you can pray to your ancestors, or you can pray to datyas and devils and fiends, and you will manifest exactly that in your life. And how do you worship? How do you worship? You don't sit in a mandir and worship. When you say that you're worshipping something, is what you adore, what you uphold as an ideal in your life. Whether you uphold Amitabh Bachchan as an idol in life, whether you uphold Lionel Messi as an idol in life, whether you uphold Obama or Gandhi, right? People who you adore, things that you go after, thoughts that you think, and not just think, but continuously ruminate on. So if you are constantly ruminating on something negative that has happened in your life, that is what you are ending up worshipping. And you will bring that back in your life. If you're constantly spending your time in idle gossip, then that is what you're worshipping through your actions, through your thoughts, through your vani. Right? This is where the tap has to come into play, so that we become aware of what we are worshipping. हम जाके पूजा कर ले 10 मिनट, वो जला लिया, अपना दिया जला लिया, अगरबत्ती जला ली, एक अपनी माला बोल दी, मंत्र की माला बोल ली, अपने सारे वो भी कर दिए, उसके बाद काम क्या कर रहे हैं पूरा दिन? What are we really doing? What are we speaking? Who are we speaking to? How many times we backbite? How many times we speak ill about others? How many times we use our Vani for the wrong purpose, not Bhagwan Ji ka purpose. That is the real worship, not sitting in mandir. Okay. So when we read the next few shlokas, that's what you need to remember. That there is a subtler form and the more important form of worship, not the gross form. The subtle form, which is more powerful than gross any given day. As long as what we do in the gross world and what we do in the subtle world, they are all in sync. When our thoughts, our words, and our actions are all in sync, that is when we really manifest the creativity of the Lord. That's when we become Brahma. Because then we exactly manifest what we are doing, because all our energies are focused in the same direction. Okay. Let's go with Shlok 25. Nana, will you read with us?
Generalizing the principle enunciated above, the Lord says,
Yanti deva vrata devan
Yanti deva vrata devan,
pitran yanti pitravrataha
pitranyanti pitravrataha,
bhutani yanti bhuteja
bhutani yanti bhutejya,
yanti madhyajinopi mam.
yanti madhya jinopi mam.
So yanti means attain. It's used again and again in this shloka. Yanti means attain. Deva vrata, worshippers of devas, worshippers of deities. Devan, deities. Pitran yanti, attain the ancestors. Pitravrata, worshippers of ancestors. Bhutani, all the beings. Yanti, attain. Bhuteja, worshippers of being. Madhya jino api, mam. Mam means me only. Madhya jino api is those who worship me, attain me only. Yeah, yanti is attain. Okay. Login.
Alan. Yes.
Yeah, let's read.
Worshippers of deities attain the deities. Worshippers of ancestors attain the ancestors. Worshippers of beings attain the beings, and those who worship me attain me. Three levels of objects of worship: deities, ancestors, and beings. While worshipping, the level of the object of worship must be clear. The powers presiding over the faculties of human welfare too pertain to three levels. These levels are exemplified by the terms deities, ancestors, and beings. Of these deities are those powers of the Lord that are always at work to make available to beings the bounties of nature for their welfare. The spirits of ancestors, though not in physical form, are always at work for the welfare of their progeny, provided the descendants live up to their traditions with a feeling of reverence. Beings belong to the realm of physical existence, and their worship would obviously mean catering to their legitimate needs and rendering service to them. Thus, worship, they grant at most the benefits relating only to physical existence.
So this is
Worship,
obviously referring to the sattvic people. Okay. So we're already assuming that we are not, these are people who are sattvic in nature. And so they are only doing the puja or the worship of the sattvic side of things, right? But there are other types of things that we know we can do, right? We can end up doing puja or worship of fiends and datyas and rakshasas, right? So we have to be careful about that.
worship of the Lord leads to salvation. Just as worship of any one of the above mentioned levels leads to the attainment of that level, worship of the Lord leads to salvation, since the Lord transcends all these three levels. The difference in this attainment from the remaining three is that worship of a deity, an ancestor, or a being leads to the attainment of a felicity, which is for a limited span of time. At the end of that span of time, there is reversion to the mortal world. But worship of the Lord leads to eternal bliss of salvation.
So the crux of this, I'm sorry, the crux of this also is that worship exists at a bhav level, right? It's what you have in your mind. So, and even your karma exists at a thought level. So when you are praying to ancestor, when you're praying to deities, when you're praying for sansaric objectives, etc., ineffectively, you are also adding positive karma for yourself, positive consequences, but consequences nonetheless, right? And those consequences then need to be paid off, which means you will come back in the mortal coil to experience those positive consequences. But along with that, there will always be a slippery slope towards other prarabdha that you will collect along the way, right? The only way to make sure that, or to ensure that you're not receiving any consequences of these prayers, of these asks, of these requests, of the bhav, is by praying directly to Bhagwan Ji and surrendering to him, having that bharosa on him, as Tuina was mentioning. That's the only way to ensure you're not adding more consequences to your actions. And that is why praying to Bhagwan Ji directly leads to salvation.
Now, you can pray to Bhagwan Ji directly through all of these cases as well, right? Whether you're praying to beings, whether you're praying to any of the, gods like Shivji or Parvati Ji or, Durga Ma, or whatever you may choose, or Ganesh Ji, right? You can choose any specific idol, or you can choose to pray to your ancestors or whatever, right? Like you can choose. Form does not matter. It is your bhav that matters. End of the day, if you're asking for it is what you ask for. If you're asking for love of the Lord, for knowing your ultimate truth, then it does not matter who you're asking for. Ultimately, through them, you're going to the Lord only, because they are all faculties of the Lord. But you can transcend through them to the Lord. But if you want to restrict yourself to them only, keep Ganesh Ji, please help me, get rid of this obstacle in my office or whatever, right? Like it will happen. He will help you. But that's about it, right? One obstacle goes, the second obstacle will come. So what you ask for is what you will get. You ask for stuff that is perishable, you will get perishable stuff. You want to ask for imperishable, what that lasts, eternal, you will get that. It's like walking into a store, and Bhagwan Ji is the owner of that store, and he says, "Ki, what do you want?" Instead, you will end up saying, "Oh, I want this, or I want that candy, I want that thing, I want that thing." So you're just getting. He will say, "Okay, this is what you want." He will give you from his shop. If you end up saying, what he's saying is, why ask for these petty things when you can say, "Bhagwan Ji, I want you only." So then, if you own the shopkeeper, you own the entire shop. That's what he's trying to say. Yes, Rituj.
Just on that point of what you ask for and that's what you will get. I remember reading this a long time ago. Even I'm not
Your
very
voice is
sure.
fading out, Rituj.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Hello? Is it better?
Yeah,
Maybe I'll just put my earphone just 1 second.
it was
I'll also
better
connect
then.
the speaker. 1 second, guys. I'll connect the speaker as well.
Although that speaker does not affect what gets recorded. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Is it better now? Is it better now? Can you hear me better?
No.
Can you speak again?
Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello?
हमको नहीं सुनाई दे रहा ना?
It's better now? Okay. Okay, thanks. Can you guys hear me
Say
though?
something?
Hi.
तो नहीं जा रहा?
Hello? Narang.
Yeah, no.
It's better. Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay. So the point that you said about what you ask is what you get. I remember reading a couple of years ago the book called The Secret, which is basically that the world is like a genie, and whatever you ask is what you will get as well. So it's just how you put it out in the cosmos, and positivity, and just there should not be any negative word in it as well. Like, I do not want this as well. That was another addition, but yeah, I guess that is a natural extension to what you said, maybe.
So that's because our mind is constantly holds on to ideas that you talk about, and then it ruminates on them. It does not understand the word not. Okay, you say, I don't want, I don't know, I don't want to fail in an exam. Okay, I don't want to fail, I don't want to fail, I don't want to fail. Okay, I don't want to fail, the concept comes from a space of fear, from a space of inadequacy, from a space of the fact that I don't think I'm going to be good enough, and I don't think I will, you're everything from that moment onwards that you will do is going to ensure that you will actually fail, because you are constantly saying fail, 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 fail. And that's what your mind will pick up. And then the actions, it will make sure that you get distracted at every moment. You will not get enough time to study. You will not, and you will have every reason for your willpower to break down when you really needed to sit together. Everything will happen eventually to make sure that you actually end up failing. It will make sure that you do not put in enough effort into your studies. It will make sure that you might just end up reaching your exam late. Like, all the things will go wrong. But that happens because all the time you're focusing on, I don't want to fail. Instead, you say, I want to pass with flying colors. It's a very different emotion. It's going to come from a space of strength. It will strengthen your core. And that's all that you will think about. And so instead of being fearful of failing, you will be thinking about what it takes to actually pass. And then everything will revolve around that. You will create structures. You will put in the time. You will put in the frameworks. You will make sure that your environment is suitably created because you want to pass. So that's how a thought then translates into actions, translates into the real life consequences. And that is what we were saying, what you ask for, also what you worship. This is worshipping, form of worship, right? Your actions are a form of worship, your thoughts are a form of worship. Absolutely. So secret is absolutely correct. And this is what Gita tells us as well. What Gita does say on top of that, on top of what secret does not cover, is the fact that we don't necessarily know what is good for us. We don't necessarily know what to ask for, right? So secret may say you can ask for whatever material stuff that you want and then focus on it and get it. That's the same as you doing puja of the devas. Or which is why, like a lot of people, when we all start off, right, there's a whole thing like, I'm a good person. And so why do I need to do Gita? I do all the right things. I don't hurt people. I don't want to do this. I mean, I'm generally a very good person trying to do all the right things in my life. I work hard. I live an honest life. Then why do I need Gita, right? You are a good person. Gita tells you that being a good person is not good enough. Because being a good person is the same as you following the prescriptions of the Vedas, but with an end goal in mind, which is Rajoguni, which is tied to desires. So you still do everything with a desire-based outcome. Your desire to look good. If you think you're a good person, there is a subtle ego sitting there telling you that you are a good person. And that ego is a barrier in your spiritual journey. And being that good person is then being driven by a certain desire, by a desire of name, fame, money. People should adore me, people should admire me, right? All of those things are basically your ego. So you will receive everything that you're working towards as a good person, but then you will also fall back into this mortal coil. You've not broken through the cycle, correct? And that is the limitation of the secret, which we will learn. I mean, but other than that, following the prescription that it does talk about at a practical level can help. But then the point is, unless for doing something and to make it a habit, you really need to imbibe the deepest reason why it works and then work on it. So Gita will give you the deepest reasons of how and why it works. Yeah, laws of nature. There is no denying that. You have to work with the laws of nature, which God has created.
Eventually, Visalakshi, I'm speaking now. So eventually the I is not there, right? I is dissolving, completely surrendered to the God. So I is not there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Sense of doership. I is the ego, the sense of doership. I did something. If you are cooking food, if you are getting some results in office, if you are getting stuff done at home, then that I has not dissolved.
Right. Okay.
So giving up that sense of doership by knowing that whatever is being done by the
To the
grace
God.
of the God,
Yes.
by the energy given to you by God. He has given you, first of all, an opportunity to do something for your own uddhar. So it's a seva that you're doing for the Lord. The seva ki opportunity has been created by him. You would not have otherwise even got the opportunity to do this. So you've got an opportunity given to you by the Lord. The resources, mental, physical, material, emotional, all resources you require to do that seva are being given by the Lord. The energy to walk the path is being shown to you by the God. And then the energy to walk that path, the inspiration to walk that path is also given by the Lord. Having that recognition, and then because of this, surrendering the results, whatever happens, you just have to walk the path that Lord has shown you with his energy. Whatever happens after that, you don't care. It is his dispensation. Having that buddhi, that satviki buddhi, the tikshna buddhi, that is very important. And that is called dissolving of doership, dissolving of ego. That's called karma yoga.
So I'll give you an example, right? So there was a little boy, not a little boy, but it was a boy who went, and there was a very famous Swami in Varanasi, and he wanted to help that Swami. So he said, Guruji, please, whatever work you have for me, please tell me. I want to be close to you. I want to be with you. I want to learn from you. Whatever it is, I'll happily do it. So the Swamiji took a bucket, and but the bucket had a hole, a pretty sizable hole. He said, I want you to go to the river, fill this bucket, and run as fast as you can back to me.
Fill it up.
Fill it up and bring it back to me.
And then fill a tub that was kept there.
And fill a tub, whatever. Yeah, kept next. So he said, okay. So he went, he filled the bucket with the water, and he ran back. And of course, the bucket was leaking throughout. So by the time he reached the tub, there was very little water left. But he poured whatever. Then he went to the Swamiji. Swamiji, can I get another bucket? This bucket is broken. It's taking me too long. It has a hole. He said, I've given you everything you need. Continue. So he continued. Day one. Next day he came. He saw the tub was still not full. Swamiji gave him the same bucket. He did that run again. And this went on for weeks. And then when the bucket got full, the tub got full, he went to the Swamiji. He said, I filled the bucket. I've done it. So Swamiji said, very good. So the child said, sir, but Swamiji, aapne karwaya kyun? Why did you make me do this? And Swamiji said, come, let's go take a walk. And
the first thing was that bucket itself. So he said, now take a look at the bucket. And he had realized that the bucket which was given to him was extremely sooty and dirty. So the point was, the boy was asking, why did you make me do this? You could have given me a better bucket, no? And that would have helped me fill this up so quickly. You made me do this over so many days. It took me so long to get this done. So he says that first, the bucket itself, he realized, had got cleaned along the way, right? Bar pani bhar ke, that bucket got cleaned. So the purpose was not just one, to just fill that tub. There are so many other purposes for every action that we do, and that needs to be done. So first was that bucket got filled. Then he said, now walk along with me. And they took a walk all the way from that tub to the source of water, the river. And he saw that because he had been running and doing this, on both sides of his pathway, there were seeds that were kept, that were getting watered along the way. And because of that, the grass had grown, the flowers had grown in that region. So that was another consequence that Lord wanted to create. And so he asked him to do it in that fashion. Now, did that boy know or understand? He could see only one goal, which was explicitly stated. But there were so many other goals he was accomplishing of Bhagwanji. And that is very important for us to remember, that whatever happens, our limited intellect cannot even begin to fathom what is his design. So having that trust that whatever is happening for the best, whether I fully understand it or not, is my limitation and not a flaw of the design.
Yeah. So the intellect that we have and the knowledge that we have, we can redirect it and say, let me be the bucket. Let me clean myself. My antakaran ki shuddhi karu. Let me clean my and get rid of my ichha, my rag dvesh, my judgment, my likes and dislikes. And then let Bhagwanji's water flow through me. As long as I'm following the principle of Lok Sangra, which is doing it for others' welfare, his energy is flowing through us, and the result will be exactly what it needs to be. For yourself,
whether you are the boy or whether you are the bucket,
correct.
Right? End of the day, they are all in his seva, doing exactly what they are needed to do for a particular outcome. तो ईगो नहीं होना चाहिए, राइट? मुझे अब वो बकेट बोलने लगे, मुझे तो ये लड़का बनना है. Why should I play the part of a bucket? I don't want to be the bucket. I want to be the boy. And or the boy starts to say, why do I have to run around? Look at this bucket. She's just sitting around in my hand. Say, I want to be the bucket. You don't need, you will
Or
be
I want
exact,
a better bucket.
Yeah.
I want this.
You are exactly where you need to be for your antakaran ki shuddhi. Jo bhi ho raha hai, design is being played out. And you are placed in that scenario in exactly the way you need to be. In exactly, and you will get exactly that proportion of that entire outcome in the way you need to be. Your effort, your behavior, your action in that entire scene, your participation in that scene is exactly going to be what you need to experience.
And if you ever doubt this thought, no, if you ever doubt it, just take a moment to reflect. There are 8 billion people in this world, and no two are identical. In features, in looks, they might be identical.
No, even that is not identical.
Might
No
be
two
similar.
snowflakes are
Might be
identical.
similar, right? We've seen twins, we've seen identical twins, they're similar, all of that. But no two human beings from an experiential, from a personality, from anything is identical, right? And so we always say everyone is unique, and you are unique because
life
we
experiences
did
are
not
unique.
even choose our uniqueness. Everything that we have ghamand and arrogance about, we have not chosen. We've not chosen our family, we've not chosen our gender, we've not chosen the country we are born, we've not chosen the education, we've not chosen the languages we speak, nothing. But within that subset, we've done a few things that we have done out of choice, and those are the ones we become extremely arrogant about. Not realizing 99.9% of things in our life we've not chosen. They've just happened to us out of His grace. And that's that 1% we need to give up. That we hold on to so much that humne bahut kar liya life mein. We are amazing. And that's that doership that Visa Lakshmi was talking about. Shivari?
you.
Visa Lakshmi, do you want to read?
Okay. Yeah, 26th, right?
Yeah,
the connection before.
Connection. The workshop of a deity on an ancestor or a being requires plenty of materials, but it leads to limited results, and those too for a limited span of time. On the other hand, worship of the god leads to internal bliss. A doubt arises as to whether his worship would require even more materials of such higher value. The Lord sets this doubt as rest and says,
Patram pushpam phalam toyam.
Patram pushpam palam toyam.
Yo me bhaktya prayachati.
Yo me bhaktiya prayachati.
Tadham bhaktyam. Tadaham bhaktyu prahatam.
Tadaham bhaktyu prakatam.
Prahatam.
Prahatam.
Aprahat is abduction. Yeah.
Okay.
Ashnami prayatatmanaha.
Ashmani prayatatmanaha.
Ashnami prayatatmanaha.
Ashnami prayatatmanaha.
Very nice. Patram is leaf. Pushpam flowers. Phalam fruits. Toyam jal water, an offering of water. Yo, those devotees, me, bhaktya, with love or with a lot of reverence. Prayachati, arpan karta hai, offers. Tad aham, that me. Bhaktyu, prem se, aprahat, I, arpan kiya hua, I eat. Ashnami, I eat. Prayatatmanaha, Shuddha Buddhi Yukt, one that is filled with with pure intellect, with pure feeling. That is what it means.
Okay. Whatever is offered to me with the devotion by a devotee of pure heart, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or even a helping of water, is a partaken of by me with the release and account of the devout feeling accompanying the offer. Then intensity of a devotion important in workshop materials secondary. In this shloka, the Lord asserts that for his workshop, the material used is of secondary importance. The offer of even a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or merely water is enough to please him. The real importance lies in the intensity of the feeling of a devotion with which the offering is made. The Lord is hardly considered with the volume or value of the materials used in his worship. He only looks to the feeling of devotion accompanying the offer, the judges whether it is wholehearted or just casual. The greater the intensity of the adoration in the heart of the devote for the Lord, the greater would be the illumination of the Lord's grace in his heart. There are many legends in the scriptures to exemplify with this shloka. The Lord Krishna preferred to what is that?
Preferred
Preferred to
part to the of the humble.
Okay. Of the humble fare of Vidursa's house rather than accept Duryodhana's lavish hospitality. He was gratified with only a leaf sticking to the cooking pot of the Darbudi. The offer of just a lotus flower by the king elephant satisfied him in the form of Lord Vishnu. In his form of Lord Rama, the berries offered by the Sabari pleased him. Though in his eternity of her love for the Lord, she had tasted them to check their sweetness before offering them. The offer of only water by Raja Ranteva completely satisfied him. These legends are made to forfeit the belief that the Lord attaches importance only to the sentiment and not the material content of the offering. It is necessary to emphasize the point because a mistake idea privilege the worship of the Lord involves huge expenditure or entails heavy bodily extension. This is an absolutely wrong notation. The importance of the intensity of a devout feeling, the wholehearted absorption is often lost in this midst of this enormous motion, I think.
Yeah.
Motion, yes, yeah.
So I think this continues the thought that we just touched upon, which is the bhav is what defines and has the highest importance. It is not the material form, right, of what we do. It's what we have in our mind. It's the bhav with which we offer something to Bhagwanji, right? And the other.
So जब हम पूजा करते हैं, when we do the puja and all, you don't have to have like 56 भोग लगा रहे हैं, ठीक है? Now, for example, there is Krishna Janmashtami, right? There is a concept of 56 bhog. There is a reason behind that tradition of 56 bhog. Now, there would be people who will prepare 56 bhog, okay, and they will spend all of the time, energy, money, all resources, full exertion to get all of that together. But end of the day, there is no feeling. Right? There's no feeling of devoutness. There's no feeling of reverence for the Lord. You're just doing it as another bhog. Instead of yog, that whole action becomes a form of bhog instead. Correct? So actions is not, first of all, actions don't matter at all. What matters is the feeling at which you do things. Right? So that is very important. अब फिर आप उसमें आप 56 भोग बनाओ, या फिर you just offer one little bit of water, or you offer a little bit of food, or whether you don't offer any of that stuff, you just pray to Bhagwan Ji, it does not matter. So that's what is being referred to here. ठीक है? आप कर सकते हो, nobody is saying you don't do it. दिवाली की आप पूजा कर रहे हो, दिवाली की पूजा में आपने इतना बड़ा वो प्लेटर बना लिया कि आपने सिर्फ एक सिंपल सी पूजा कर ली. It either way it does not matter. You cannot judge कि किसने अच्छी पूजा की, किसने नहीं की. वो सारी चीजें, they are those rituals can have no meaning other than the feeling that is attached to them, whether they are lavish, whether they are small, whether they are not there at all.
So this
okay?
is.
So you will do what you feel like doing, that which brings out your reference. Somebody may, the whole action of decorating the house or doing a rangoli will create in somebody who enjoys that entire experience, will create a lot of feeling of devoutness in somebody. Great. Then it is a great expression from them, because that is getting them in the zone of being connected with the Lord. For someone else for whom creating a rangoli is effort, painful, or is, then it is taking that person away from the Lord, ना कि बना रहे हैं क्योंकि बनाना है, आज दिवाली है इसलिए जबरदस्ती हम बना रहे हैं, है ना? तो वो तो पूरा total idea of that Diwali is gone. Okay, so this is the idea that is being brought about here. जब हम लोग हवन करते हैं, so हमेशा शालिनी दीदी reminds us, जब हम हवन करते हैं कि अपने संस्कार ज्यादा डालिए, सामग्री कम डालिए. और लगे हुए हैं सब सामग्री डाल दे, हम लोग डालते रहते हैं खूब सारी, सोच के कि जितनी सामग्री डालेंगे उतने हम प्यूरिफाई हो जाएंगे, जो कि होता नहीं है. So we have to always remember to put our sanskars into action, our bhav into the action, whatever be that havan that we are doing, a physical havan or the havan of our lives. Through every action can be that havan in which we are putting our sanskars in, and that is the puja of the Lord, the worship of the Lord.
So it's also important to become aware that actually the only way for us to be in yoga, to connect with Bhagwanji, is our mind. That is it. Everything in the gross form is just a reminder to direct the mind towards him.
Correct. So there's nothing wrong with whatever is going on, because Maya is also his only. It is about how we use that Maya. So,
and this is where people go into sannyas, they sit in a cave and they attain enlightenment. Because all they're doing is redirecting the mind, right? So this entire offering that we're doing just starts with the mind, redirecting the mind towards him, and offer everything that we're doing to him, and that's it.
Let's try and reach shloka 27 before we do the other things, because you won't need all 50 minutes for that, right? Because this will really tie everything together. It's a very powerful shloka. Okay. Let's do shloka 27, then we'll stop. Okay. Kakuli, do you want to read with us?
Okay.
Is it comfortable for you to read?
Yeah.
Sure?
can- yeah.
100%?
The Lord now clarifies that for his worship, it is not at all necessary to perform any extraordinary ritual. He says,
Yat karoshi tadashnasi.
Yat karoshi tyadat nasi,
Yajjuhoshi dadasi yat.
yajjuhoshi dadasi yat,
Yat tapasyasi kaunteya.
yat tapasyasi kaunteya,
Tat kurushva madarpanam.
tat kurushva madarpanam.
Yat karoshi, whatever actions you do. Yadashnasi, whatever you eat. Yajjuhoshi, whatever yagya or havan you do. Dadasi yat, whatever you give as dan, whatever you give as charity. Yat tapasyasi, whatever tap you do, whatever austerities you undertake. Kaunteya, Kuntiputra, tat kurushva madarpanam. All of them give those offerings to me only.
Whatever actions you
See the word Kaunteya, Kuntiputra. Kuntiputra, the reference is that this is in his gross form. The son of Prithvi. Prithvi is the earth, is the densest of all the 5 elements. So everything that we are referring to here is the gross actions, the gross things that we do. That is why Kuntiputra. So whether, even if you're not doing anything subtler, right? You're just doing physical actions. Everything that we will talk about here are physical actions. And that's why the reference to Kuntiputra.
So throughout the Gita, Krishna refers to Arjun with many different names. Bharata, Gudakesh, Kaunteya,
32 different
Partha,
names.
Partha. So each one has its own deep meaning and context of why it's being used in that particular shloka. Because all of these are various forms of being that exist in all of us. So he's reaching out to that form within us, saying
That aspect
that
within us,
aspect within us,
which
and-
needs to be invoked for that moment. Correct.
whatever actions you perform, whatever food you eat, whatever oblations you make, whatever charity you give, whatever austerities you practice, O Kaunteya, only offer them to me. The offer of normal activities to the Lord is the best form of worship. In
Note
this,
this now, underline this. बैठ के पूजा नहीं करनी है हमें टेम्पल में, दिए जला लिए और अपने वो कर लिया. That is only helpful when it gets you to do your normal activities in a good manner, right? So these are reminders along the way. They are important. Okay, अब ये नहीं कि अरे अब हम नाम जप क्यों करें, फिर हमें जरूरत नहीं है. Why do you, these things are important reminders, as Abhinav said. But end of the day, what it has to lead to? It has to lead to a change in how we are in everyday life, in everyday activities. If that is not changing, then we are not walking the path. If you're not doing your daily activities in a much more better, efficient, nicer manner, then something is wrong. We are disconnected. हम गीता का भी फिर in that case भोग ही कर रहे हैं, सत्संग का भी हम भोग कर रहे हैं. We are coming here only because it makes us feel good for that little time. तो आएंगे, थोड़ी सी पीस मिलेगी, खुशी मिलेगी, सटल ईगो बढ़ेगी कि we are being good people, we are doing this and I am doing नाम जप. बट उसमें भी हमने इसको योग की जगह उसका भी भोग कर लिया.
In this shloka, the Lord has covered all activities of the daily routine of a person in the following 5 categories. Action. All activities of daily life, including those of earning our livelihood and dealing with friends and other people, are covered by the word actions. Food. All things partaken of for nourishment or for maintaining life are included in the word food. Oblations. The material use of fire worship is denoted by oblations. It includes the morning and evening prayers, chanting of the Lord's names, singing hymns, choral singing, study of scriptures, and the like. Charity. This includes all activities in which money, material, or services are offered for the assistance of the needy. Austerities. The performance of all duties entails physical or mental exertion. When they are borne with pleasure and gratitude, they constitute austerities. This term includes all those activities that are undertaken to strengthen faith. Exertions made with a grumbling attitude are plainly a torture. An exertion undergone against one's will or under compulsion remains only a torture and does not fall in the category of austerities.
So here I just want to highlight a few things. One is, if you go back to point one, right, which is actions. For us to do any action takes effort, takes energy, takes effort, takes a considerable amount of planning, right? But a lot of the actions that we do, if we do it for sansaric objectives, it will necessarily result in fear, stress, tension, disappointment, and all those things that come along with it, right? I'm about to present to or be ready for an interview and meeting the CEO of Google. I will be nervous, I'll be stressed, I'll be like, oh my God, I need to do this, need to do that, yada, 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 right? You'll be quite worked up before that meeting. Similarly, in a situation where you have to make a big presentation in front of a large management team, you'll be stressed about it, right? Or I have to sing a song in front of 100 people, you'll be stressed about it. The fact that fear exists, it is coming because you are operating from a sansaric point of view. That same action, when you make prasad for Bhagwan Ji, is there fear? No, you're just cooking and you just hope. You're not even tasting the food. आप भगवान भरोसे बना रहे हो, you trust your judgment, you trust him to take care of it, and almost always prasad ka khana is just like some of the tastiest food you've had, right? So when if
और जब हम प्रसाद भगवान के लिए बनाते हैं तो हम ये नहीं सोचते क्या उनको पसंद आएगा, क्या उनको नहीं पसंद आएगा, हम कभी नहीं सोचते हो उनको पसंद आएगा, ये जो भी हम उन्हें ऑफर करेंगे, he will take it and he will be grateful for it, he'll always be happy about it. The moment you start thinking about कि आपने पूजा में गेस्ट बुलाए हैं, अब आप गेस्ट के लिए खाना बना रहे हो तो immediately पसंद आएगा, नहीं पसंद आएगा, ये अच्छा लगा, वो अच्छा लगा, उसने क्या कहा, उसने नहीं कहा.
So likes and dislikes come.
Likes and dislikes immediately आ जाते हैं. This is the difference in your same action and what is the feeling you're invoking or who you're doing it for. If you're doing the same action for Lord, your mind is going to be calm. Your effort, there would be no difference in your effort. If anything, your effort will be more because your mind is calm, you're happy, you're in a peaceful state, and so your ability to do more physical exertion is going to be actually more. But when your mind is filled with any kind of negativity or any kind of anxiety, and which will happen the moment your end goal becomes sansaric. So same action, your bhav changes from sansaric or to divine, your ability to do certain things or your ability to do things properly or your state of mind of how calm or happy or what you're feeling is going to change completely.
And this can be brought into every aspect of every day's life.
So if you're feeling anger, upset, anxiety, fear, know that at the root cause of it all is some attachment to the material world. There is delusion inside of you right now. So use these as great markers to step back and examine yourself. What is causing this negative feeling and how can you let it go so that you can move past? Tell yourself that you are past the dualities and ask Bhagwanji to help you get past that duality that is restricting you in that moment.
So instead of fear, what should be there? Let's say the practical scenario which Abhinav mentioned, the few examples. So instead of fear, what should be there? Like, I don't care if the guests like my food, or I don't care what the CEO thinks, or like what?
No, even
So,
that is
no,
a negative feeling. Na?
that's
I
also
don't care is indifference of a completely different nature. What you need to do is, first of all, if it has to start from the top, right? When you start to prepare for a presentation, when you're preparing it for the Lord, you will put in all of the effort. You will leave no stone unturned to prepare for it. Whether it is collecting data for the presentation, whether it is designing, whether it is putting everything together, whatever you have to do within the resources available to you, you will give it your best. Okay, ऐसा नहीं है कि you don't do anything and then you turn up there and then say अब भगवान भरोसे. That is not the form of worship, right? You will give it your very best, and when you have given your very best, and if, for example, you are not a great speaker, okay, so you typically tend to falter when you present in front of people. So first of all, then you will also put an effort towards practicing for that presentation. Once you have done everything you can, उसके बाद बोलो भैया अब जो होगा वो होगा. I'll falter 10 times, whether I falter one time, this is exactly what God wanted me to do. I could not have done anything more to prepare. So then you are filled not with a feeling of dread or fear or anxiety. Now you are filled with a feeling of I have done everything that I could, and that gives a sense of peace and confidence. And then you go in and you make that presentation. You're not presenting to the board, you're presenting to the Lord, and He has seen you prepare. So उसके बाद जो भी result आएगा, maybe you falter 10 times and your CEO screams at you, whatever, or says that what a bad presentation. That is also भगवान जी की felicity. ठीक है, I will learn from it. What do you want me to do? Or you will be able to talk about it calmly. Fear की जगह नहीं.
So I remember the first time I'd experienced this was I was sitting, it was a renewal of a contract, and I was sitting, big contract, $500,000 or whatever, and I was just like, a lot of effort went to it, right? Eventually I was feeling prepared, invoked all the Gita principles, let go, ye wo वगैरह, I'm
और उसके
whatever
बाद भी
outcome.
थोड़ी सी physical वो तो रहेगा, है ना?
Right.
Yeah, physical तो रहेगा तुम्हारे
So,
feelings.
Yeah, so anxiety kept coming in. I said, let go, it's fine. I've done my best. Jo bhi hoga, hoga, vagera. So I was approaching it from that perspective. I went into the meeting for an hour. They grilled me. Matlab, they were absolutely did not see any of the positives, and they were ripping apart negatives, and they were just like being completely unreasonable to a point where, I mean, I did not lose my temper, but I remember walking out extremely flustered and angry. And it was 10 p.m. at night by the time I finished that meeting with them. And I remember I walked out, I called my manager in the US back then, and yelled and had a proper venting session with him, right? And then this was Friday night. I changed my flight ticket so I could reach Singapore at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. Saturday morning, because I had Gita class at 11 a.m. So I was just like, I had to come back. So I came into the Gita class, and the class started, ye wo hum shloka voka pad rahe the. And I told Kumar the story. Kumar, I did everything, right? But I still got humiliated. I still got ye vagara vagara. What is this? And he heard me. And then he said two things. One, in your sharing right now itself, I'm sure you can feel you are attached to the outcome, that you wanted to renew the contract come what may, right? And he said the second thing, which is you were trying to act superior by saying, oh, I'm spiritually elevated, all of these things, I've done all the right things, or the right thing should happen to me. But you are actually not being in the present moment, understanding the true purpose of that conversation. If the purpose of that conversation for them, their biggest concern was those negatives, then you just weren't present enough to be able to identify it. And that is your learning. Now move on. Whether you renew the contract, not renew the contract, move on. The purpose of that moment and why it happened is for you to learn this. So that in the next meeting, you take this purpose and try and implement it. Right? So in each conversation, each move, we make certain moments very important for our existence, but life is a continuum in that sense. Every moment is a purpose to teach us one thing, or a purpose for us to do one small act. That's it. If we're in line with that purpose, we're okay and we move on. If not, then we get flustered, we get stressed, we get fear, because we get attached to certain outcomes we want.
But it's not always like I have done everything, I have done my best. In the like today, in the hindsight, we can always think that, oh, I could have done that also. I could have done that. I could have done that. Then we think that I did not do my best. Then I did not think of everything, even though in that moment maybe you could have done everything or maybe not.
So this is where
this is where the learnings come in, no?
This is where your Gita principles also come in, and two, you have to be true to yourself, right? If there were thoughts, there is no perfection. Firstly, there is no perfection in sansar. So yes, there is always going to be room for improvement, right? So those two things are given. What perfection means, not perfection, what commitment means is, were you committed to putting in the effort, and did you put whatever effort? Now, if you couldn't put effort because your son fell sick and you had to stay up all night and you only had 45 minutes to prepare for it, then that is Bhagwanji playing his Maya. Accept it. That Bhagwanji, I couldn't do it. Next time, please give me more buddhi so I prepare in advance, or give me more insight so I can be better prepared. So you go back towards him.
Also, hindsight में you can say कि हाँ ये मैं और बेहतर कर सकती थी, which is a great learning for you to have. And now that you have learned it would be a shame if you don't put it into practice, because then you've not done your karma. If after learning something you've not put it into action, agar there was genuinely you couldn't have thought of something because it was just not something that it never entered your consciousness to do something, then it was just a genuine miss. That does not take away from your karma off for that particular action. It's like banana peel pada hai kahin pe. Not everybody who is walking past it and not throwing it in the dustbin is going to accrue its path. अगर आपने देखा ही नहीं है उसको, आपकी कॉन्शियसनेस में ही नहीं आया, आपको पता ही नहीं है क्यों बनाना पील वहां पड़ा है, तो you walk past it, you will incur no sin for having done that. But if you saw the banana peel, it entered your consciousness, you chose to ignore it, did not do the karma of throwing it in the dustbin, then you will incur the path of it. Did it enter your consciousness or not? Were you aware that you could have done ABCD more, but you did not do it? Or you did not have, or you had the resources and you couldn't do it? All of those things come into play. And then there's another thing, right? There is a mental thing and there's a physical thing. You need a certain type of physical reaction in the body to be able to accomplish certain things. If you want to run, and if you want to run really fast, your body has to be functioning. It can't be calm and composed. You can't have a heartbeat of 60 and then expect to run a kilometer. Your heartbeat has to get elevated. It's the nature. Your heartbeat has to get elevated because your body has to pump more blood, and that blood has to go into your veins faster for your muscles to get more blood quickly, more oxygen quickly, for it to perform its job. So if before a presentation you're feeling certain palpitation, you're feeling excitement of any kind, you're feeling a little bit of nervousness and anxiety, just know these are all good feelings that you're supposed to have so that you are on the ball. Your body is on the ball, your mind is on the ball, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean that in mind also you are like.
And the phrase to always remember and say it in moments is Shri Krishna Arpan Astu. Shri Krishna Arpan Astu.
Arpanam Astu.
Which basically means I'm offering this for Krishna. I'm offering this to Krishna. Right? There was this we're digressing a lot, but last thing I'll share on this.
Maybe I have to stop after this.
Yeah, there was this very like a billionaire, right? That I was very close to, and I met her, and it was very interesting because her calendar would get full. A lot of people would ask for her time. She would sit in meetings. Some of them would be random. Some of them would be she wanted to meet. Some of them she met through connections. And so we were discussing, and she was just like, every time I sit and I meet a new person, or I'm sitting in a meeting, the only question I keep asking myself is, what's my purpose here? And what is the purpose in this meeting? And he says, invariably, halfway through that meeting, towards the end of the meeting, or sometimes towards the beginning of the meeting, I see the purpose. and I know exactly why this person has come into my life or why I have come right now to sit here and then contribute, and I move on. And that was such a powerful way to just realign from like dislike to just saying, what is purpose? And reconnecting with the purpose, not the individual. Everyone else is a tool towards the larger purpose. Okay, should we finish reading? Just one paragraph.
In this shloka, the Lord clarifies that the offers of acts performed as duties of daily routine to the Lord is the best method of worship. The activities performed with selfish motives, expectations, or for enjoyments, or those under compulsion, do not constitute worship. The involvement of selfish motives, expectations, or enjoyments, in fact, negate the gains of worship. Giving up these selfish feelings leads to purity of intellect. The offer of these duties to the Lord is complete when their performance is accompanied by a feeling that the duties being performed are for the Lord's pleasure, by His power and under His dispensation, and the part played by the performer is only that of an agent of the Lord. Even if this feeling does not accompany the commencement, its induction during the performance or completion of the duty suffices for the offering to the Lord.
Yeah, so I think the last line makes it clear, right? Even if this feeling does not accompany the commencement, like if you weren't able to do it or complete that act, the fact that you had that intent.
Whether you have that intent at the beginning or the middle or the end, it does not matter. Bring it in at some point of time. Okay. So we'll close the class here, and we would like to read Hanuman Chalisa. Would anybody like to volunteer for doing Hanuman Chalisa? Bhagyashree, you're comfortable with Hanuman Chalisa?
Not so much actually.
I think you should do it. We have
Okay.
very little time.
Okay, so let me read it. We've shared both English and Hindi versions in the group. So please refer to it and read along with me, and dedicate.
I'm just going to put Babaji's picture here. So we're doing it for him. आप करो मैं WhatsApp में कर दूँ.
एक सेकंड इसको फिर अभी क्लोज करके ना श्रद्धांजलि करा